This is Sean from the American Soccer Coach. This video is going to be about my first ever time watching Christian Pulisic live at age 16. So the reason I'm making this video is Christian Pulisic has always had a lot of talent, but the reason that I thought he was going to excel as a professional versus why he's excelling as a professional 4 years later is a little bit different. So I thought that'd be kind of an interesting topic to go into. So basically, the U.S. U17 national team was in Portland. They had a friendly with the Timbers reserve team, Timbers 2, and that was the first time I got to watch him play live in the stadium. Here's what pretty much stood out to me. So he was playing with the US U17 team, as I said. They were playing a 4-3-3 double pivot, and Christian Pulisic was actually a number 10 back then. So this was right after he signed with Dortmund, and he was playing, like I said, he was playing as a number 10. Right now he's 5'8", but even back then he was, I don't know, maybe 5'4", 5'5". He was very short. And after watching the game, my conclusion was this guy is definitely the best player on the field for the U.S. youth national team. And I mean, out of all the players on the field, even the Timbers 2 guys, you could tell that this guy was going to have he was going to have the most potential out of any player on the field. So the reason that he stood out in particular in that game were as follows. Technically, he was very good. Very rarely did he lose the ball. His pressure on the ball, despite his small frame, was always very good. He was not fast. He was not fast in terms of 20, 30, 40-yard sprints. But when he received the ball, especially because he was shorter, he was able to turn defenders really well. And he was very quick in a 5 or 10-yard acceleration when he turned players. So even though he was an attacking mid, he wasn't really a true playmaker. He would be able to turn defenders, and once he turned a defender, his acceleration was quick in a 10-yard spurt. So once he was able to do that, it would free up the wingers or the center forward, and that's how he would distribute. So those were kind of like the main things that stood out to him. His game intelligence was good. His technique was good. He had good agility in terms of 5 or 10-yard spurts. And that's what stood out. For the most part, he made the right play, even though sometimes it wasn't like a through ball through 3 guys. It was just the safe play. As I said, this was right after he signed with Dortmund. So what has surprised me in the last 4 years is pretty much this. I did not think he was going to be as fast as he's become, because even now, like by professional standards, he's a very fast player. And while he was very agile, I did not think that he would have the speed in a 20, 30, or 40-yard sprint that he does now. The second thing, his running off the ball was something I did not see back then at 16. And I think that's for multiple reasons. I think that, when he was playing at Dortmund, especially last year, tactically, Dortmund is just very advanced, and the player he's playing with are better players. So they understand, if he checks and a defender follows him and then he runs in behind that defender, the players on Dortmund are capable of picking that up and playing that through ball to him. So those kind of runs were not something I saw with him at 16. But I think that that's, one, the players he's playing with at Dortmund are better. 2, his position. If you're running in behind, you're probably doing that more as a winger than you are as a number 10, which is what he was playing with. He was playing as a 10 in that game. So his speed, his running in behind, his game understanding was something I always kind of saw. But those were probably the 2 things that have stood out. If I only based his performance off of watching him as a U16 player, I would have thought that he would go into Dortmund, and if he was getting minutes, it would have been as a number 10 rather than a winger. But because his movement off the ball, because his increase in pace in terms of a 20 or 30-yard sprint, I understand why he actually started getting his minutes mainly as a winger, even though obviously with the national team, he's been playing as a number 10 as well as a winger. So that's kind of what stood out to me was what surprised me was, 1, that he's playing as a winger now, and 2, how much faster he's become. So on top of that, I think that the other biggest surprise was how fast he took off. I thought that he would hit a world-class level, depending on what you classify as world-class. To me, that's playing for one of the best teams in the world. I mean, to make it pretty simple. I thought that he would have that potential. I didn't think he would be where he's at 20. So even though he's kind of had his year at Dortmund hasn't been as good this year as it was last year, but I wouldn't have thought that he would have had the year he had last year, already starting, a lock for the national team. And then also, I mean, obviously getting sold to Chelsea. I thought maybe 2 or 3 years from now that would happen, but I didn't think it would happen this soon. So basically, Pulisic he's always been a player I thought has had a lot of potential, but 4 years ago, I didn't think it would be as a winger, and I also didn't think it would be as fast as it has been. But in saying that, it's been awesome watching him, and I'm hoping that this move to Chelsea will get him the playing time he needs, and also playing under Sarri, I think will fit his style of play. So I think it'll be a good move. Please comment, please like. Thank you for tuning in.